She couldn't stand the billionaire next door, until one night revealed the heart meant for hers. She was 3 months from losing everything her family built over 70 years. He was the billionaire next door whose construction was shaking her house off its foundation. When she stormed onto his property in her pajamas at 6:47 in the morning, she had no idea she was yelling at the man who would either save her life or destroy it. This is the story of how enemies became soulmates, and how love became the only thing worth fighting for. Welcome back to Tales of the Heart, where we bring you emotional and heart-touching stories that speak to the soul. If you're just joining us for the first time, you're welcome to this wonderful big family. We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure to watch till the end, and if today's story moves you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video with your family and loved ones. Now, let's dive into today's story. Linda Davis stood on her front porch at 6:47 a.m. on a Friday in March 2024, watching a construction crew demolish the piece she'd known for 34 years. The hammering started at dawn. Again. She gripped her coffee mug, her father's favorite, the one that said, "World's Best Dad," in faded letters, and felt the vibration of power tools rattle through her chest. The historic shotgun house she'd inherited trembled on its foundation. Across the hedge that separated their properties, the monstrosity rising next door blocked her view of the Charleston sunrise she'd watched every morning since childhood. "Ma," she called back through the screen door. "I'm going over there." "Linda Marie, don't you start your day with anger in your heart," her mother Simone's voice floated from the kitchen, accompanied by the smell of biscuits. At 59, Simone Davis still believed that prayer and patience could solve anything. Linda had run out of both 3 weeks ago. She crossed her lawn in bare feet, dew soaking the hem of her pajama pants. The hedge opened to a gap where wrought iron gates now stood, gates that hadn't existed a month ago. Beyond them, what used to be the old Thornbury estate had transformed into something that belonged in a magazine spread, not on this street where houses had been passed down through generations, where every porch held stories, where neighbors knew each other's grandmothers' names. A man stood with his back to her, phone pressed to his ear, surveying the construction like a general reviewing troops. Tall, white, expensive athleisure where that probably cost more than her monthly revenue. Even from behind, he radiated the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. "Excuse me." Linda's voice cut through the machinery noise. He held up one finger without turning. The universal gesture for wait, as if her time meant nothing. Something hot and familiar ignited in Linda's chest. She'd felt it before. When the bank tried to explain why her business loan interest rate was higher than her white colleagues. When customers walked past her bookshop assuming it sold urban fiction exclusively. When well-meaning people asked if her natural hair was professional enough for her own establishment. "Excuse me." Louder this time. The man turned, and Linda's prepared speech evaporated for half a second. He was, objectively, frustratingly, beautiful. Sharp jawline. Gray-blue eyes that caught the early light. The kind of symmetrical features that made people pause. Probably 37, maybe 38, with just enough silver at his temples to make him look distinguished rather than old. Then he smiled, polite, distant, dismissive, and the spell broke. "Can I help you?" His voice carried the smooth neutrality of someone who'd been media-trained. "You can start by turning off the construction before 7 a.m. There's a city ordinance. I have a permit for early work. The crew needs to finish the foundation before the rain next week." He glanced at his watch, definitely Rolex, like this conversation had a timer. Was there anything else? Linda's grip tightened on her mug. "Yes. There's also a historical preservation code for this neighborhood. That addition you're building blocks the original sight lines. Also permitted. I have an excellent lawyer." He said it without malice, just fact. Which somehow made it worse. "I'm sure you do. I'm sure you have excellent everything." The words came out sharper than intended. "Let me guess, you moved here for the charm of historic Charleston, fell in love with the character of the neighborhood, and now you're renovating it into something that looks like every other luxury property you own?" Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe. People probably didn't talk to him like this. "I moved here because I bought the property. What I do with it is my business." Literally. He turned back to his phone. "Now if you'll excuse me. Your business is shaking my 120-year-old house off its foundation. Your business starts at dawn and goes until dark. Your business is destroying what makes this neighborhood special." Linda stepped closer, ignoring the mud squelching between her toes. "Some of us have been here our whole lives. Some of us actually care about preserving history instead of just buying and selling it." He faced her fully now, and she saw the shift, from dismissive to actually present. His eyes traveled from her coffee mug to her bare feet, and for a mortifying second, she remembered she was wearing her father's old LSU t-shirt and hadn't combed her hair yet. "What's your name?" he asked. "Why? So you can have your excellent lawyer send me a cease and desist? So I know who I'm talking to." "Linda Davis." I live next door. The house you're currently vibrating into rubble. Joel Jackson. He extended his hand. She looked at it, manicured, no wedding ring, the hand of someone who signed contracts but never broke a sweat, and kept her own wrapped around her mug. After a beat, he lowered it. Ms. Davis, I understand change is difficult. But I've invested considerable resources in restoring this property to its former glory while upgrading it to modern standards. I'm actually preserving history, not destroying it. By building a wine cellar and home theater? You've been researching my permits. You've been destroying my peace. They stood in silence, the construction noise filling the space between them. A worker called out something about load-bearing walls. A cement mixer rumbled to life. I'll speak to the foreman about starting at 7:30 instead of 6:30, Joel said finally. That's the best I can offer. How generous. Linda turned to leave, then looked back. Welcome to the neighborhood, Mr. Jackson. Try not to bulldoze it. She made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her. For what it's worth, I actually do care about history. That's why I'm here. Something in his tone made her pause, a crack in the polished veneer, a hint of something genuine underneath. She glanced back. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Then maybe start by respecting the people who've been living it, she said, and walked home through the gap in the hedge. Simone was pulling biscuits from the oven when Linda came back inside. At 59, her mother moved with the efficient grace of someone who'd spent decades balancing work, family, and faith without complaint. Her silver-streaked hair was already wrapped in a silk scarf, her reading glasses perched on her nose. How'd that go, baby? He's exactly what I expected. Rich, entitled, thinks money solves everything. Linda poured fresh coffee, hands still trembling slightly. He actually said he has an excellent lawyer, like it was a personality trait. What's his name? Joel Jackson. Simone's hand stilled on the biscuit pan. Jackson? That the tech billionaire? The one who sold that company, what was it, CloudSync? Linda's stomach dropped. What? Trevor showed me an article last month. That young man made billions on some kind of data management system. Simone transferred biscuits to a cooling rack, not looking at her daughter. Said he was relocating to Charleston for a quieter life. They had his picture, handsome white boy with sad eyes. That him? I don't. Linda pulled out her phone, typed quickly. The search results loaded, and her heart sank. Joel Jackson, 37, CloudSync founder, sells company for $3.2 billion. There he was in the photo. Same sharp features, different setting, a tech conference, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her car. The article mentioned his divorce 5 years ago, his philanthropy work, his retreat from Silicon Valley to focus on historical preservation projects. Oh no, Linda whispered. What? I basically accused a billionaire philanthropist of not caring about history when he's apparently famous for restoring historic properties. She sank into a kitchen chair. I'm an idiot. You didn't know, baby. And either way, he still needs to respect the neighborhood. Simone set a plate of biscuits in front of her. Eat. You've got to open the shop in an hour, and you can't run on spite alone. Linda bit into a biscuit, her mother's love language in flaky layers. Through the window, she could see the roof of Joel Jackson's mansion rising above the hedge. $3.2 billion. She'd yelled at a billionaire in her pajamas. Her phone buzzed. Trevor. Girl, did you see the Insta post from Charleston scene? Your new neighbor is Joel Jackson. The Joel Jackson. I'm hyperventilating. Also, is he single? Asking for myself. Linda dropped her forehead to the table. That boy has perfect timing, Simone said, reading over her shoulder. Another buzz. This time, an email. From an address she didn't recognize. From j.jackson@jacksonproperties.com to ldavis@turnpagecafe.com. Subject, neighborly relations. Ms. Davis. I've instructed my contractor to limit construction hours to 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays, with no weekend work. I've also requested they install additional sound barriers on your property line. I did some research of my own. Your bookshop, The Turn Page, has impressive reviews. I'm particularly interested in your community literacy program. Perhaps we started off on the wrong foot. I'd like to remedy that if you're willing. Regards, Joel Jackson. Linda read it twice. Then a third time. He's apologizing? Simone peered at the screen. Well, maybe he's not entirely terrible. He's not apologizing. He's managing the situation. This is what rich people do. They smooth things over, make nice, get what they want anyway. But even as she said it, Linda remembered the crack in his voice when he said he cared about history. The flicker of something real beneath the polish. You gonna respond? Simone asked. I don't know. Linda did know. She was going to respond. Because despite her anger, despite her suspicion of wealthy newcomers who bought history like it was wallpaper, despite everything, there had been a moment in his driveway when Joel Jackson looked at her like he actually saw her. Not through her, not around her, but at her. And she couldn't remember the last time someone had done that. The turned page occupied a corner of King Street that tourists often missed, tucked between an antique shop and a gallery that sold local art. Linda had transformed her father's old insurance office into something between a library and a living room, mismatched armchairs, floor-to-ceiling shelves, a cafe counter serving coffee and her mother's pastries, and a children's corner where kids could read while parents browsed. It was everything she dreamed of building. It was also, according to her accountant, 3 months from bankruptcy. Trevor looked up from the register when she walked in at 8:45. At 36, her best friend since middle school had the kind of dramatic presence that made every customer interaction a performance. Today he wore a vintage band t-shirt and perfectly cuffed jeans, his locks pulled into a high ponytail. "Don't even start," Linda warned. "I haven't said anything. You're thinking it very loudly. I'm thinking that a billionaire next door could solve certain financial problems we've been having." Trevor followed her to the back office. "I'm thinking that your property value just skyrocketed. I'm thinking that I should what? Bake him a pie and ask for a loan." Linda dropped her bag on the desk, confronting the stack of bills she'd been avoiding. Property tax assessment. 3 months overdue. The number made her nauseated. The city had reappraised the neighborhood, gentrification creeping in like floodwater, and suddenly the house her great-grandmother bought in 1952 was worth 20 times its original value. Which meant taxes Linda couldn't pay. Which meant the very real possibility of losing everything her family had built. "I'm thinking you could be less hostile to someone who might become a friend," Trevor said gently. "When's the last time you let someone new into your life?" "I don't need new people. I need about $40,000 and a miracle." How's that working out?" Before Linda could respond, the bell above the door chimed. Their first customer of the day wandered toward the fiction section, elderly woman, probably browsing before the Historical Society meeting at noon. Linda booted up the ancient computer, watching the screen load with agonizing slowness. She needed to upgrade. Needed to fix the leak in the back bathroom. Needed to replace the cafe equipment that kept breaking down. Needed to do about 17 things she couldn't afford. Her phone buzzed again. From Property Tax Assessor at charlestoncounty.gov. Subject, Final Notice, Payment Required. She didn't open it. Couldn't. Instead, she pulled up Joel Jackson's email and started typing before she could overthink it. "Mr. Jackson, thank you for adjusting the construction schedule. That's appreciated. If you're genuinely interested in community literacy work, you're welcome to visit the Turn page on King Street. We run free reading programs for neighborhood kids every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Regards, Linda Davis." Professional. Polite. Distant. She hit send before she could delete it. "Did you just invite the billionaire to story time?" Trevor appeared at her shoulder. "I invited a new resident to learn about community programs. That's what good neighbors do." "Aha. And it has nothing to do with those sad gray eyes?" "His eyes aren't," Linda caught herself. "I didn't notice his eyes." Trevor's smile was insufferable. "Sure, honey. Sure." The computer finally loaded, displaying her sales from yesterday. Barely enough to cover utilities. She had maybe 3 months before she'd have to close the shop, sell the house, lose everything her father had believed she could build. Outside the window, Charleston moved at its slow Friday pace. Tourists photographing Rainbow Row. Locals grabbing coffee. Horse-drawn carriages clopping past with their scripted history lessons about war and romance and survival. Linda had survived before. When her father died suddenly of a heart attack 3 years ago, leaving her drowning in grief and responsibility. When the pandemic nearly destroyed her business before it really began. When everyone said a black woman opening an independent bookshop in a gentrifying neighborhood was financial suicide. She'd survived all of it. She could survive Joel Jackson too. Her email pinged. "Ms. Davis. I'll be there Tuesday at 3:30. Joel." Linda stared at the screen, heart doing something complicated and unwelcome in her chest. "Oh, you're in trouble," Trevor sang. "Shut up. Big trouble." "I said shut up." But she was smiling despite herself, and Trevor saw it, and she knew, with the certainty of someone who'd just stepped onto a path she couldn't see the end of, that everything was about to change. Joel Jackson has no idea that the property he's renovating sits on land that was once slated for commercial development that would have destroyed Linda's bookshop. He has no idea that his business partner quietly bought the rights to that development plan. And he has no idea that his decision to move to Charleston is about to collide with Linda's fight for survival in ways neither of them can predict. What happens when the billionaire next door stops being the enemy and starts being something far more dangerous? If you're just joining us for the first time, you're welcome to this wonderful big family. We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure to watch till the end, and if today's story moves you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video with your family and loved ones. Tuesday arrived with the kind of perfect April weather that made Charleston feel like a postcard, 72 degrees, jasmine blooming along wrought iron fences, enough breeze to make the palm fronds whisper. Linda had changed her outfit 3 times before settling on jeans and a burnt orange blouse that Trevor said made her skin glow. She told herself it had nothing to do with Joel Jackson. She was a terrible liar. At 3:15, she was reorganizing the children's section for the 4th time when Trevor physically removed the books from her hands. "Stop. You're spiraling." "I'm not. You alphabetized the picture books. We organized those by color for the kids." He steered her toward the cafe counter. "Drink something. Breathe. He's just a man. A billionaire man who probably thinks story time is beneath him. Then why is he coming?" Linda didn't have an answer for that. The bell chimed at exactly 3:30. Joel Jackson walked into the turn page like he'd been photoshopped into her life. Dark jeans, white button-down with sleeves rolled to his elbows, leather messenger bag that probably cost more than her monthly inventory budget. His gray-blue eyes swept the space, and Linda watched him take it in, the mismatched furniture she collected from estate sales, the local art on the walls, the community bulletin board covered in kids' drawings and literacy program flyers, the smell of coffee and old books and possibility. Something in his expression shifted. Softened. "Ms. Davis." He approached the counter where she stood frozen, hand halfway to a coffee mug. "Mr. Jackson." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "You're punctual. Hazard of the tech industry. Everything runs on precise timing." He glanced around again. "This place is, it's wonderful. Really wonderful." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. "Thank you. It was my father's dream, actually. He always wanted to create a space where everyone felt welcome. Where books weren't luxury items but necessities." "Was?" Joel's attention sharpened. "He passed 3 years ago. Heart attack. He was only 58. Linda busied herself with coffee cups, needing something to do with her hands. "Never got to see the shop open. But I named it after his favorite phrase. He used to say every turn page is a new chance to become someone different." Silence stretched between them. When Linda looked up, Joel was watching her with an expression that made her chest tight. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Losing a parent too young, I can't imagine." "You're close with yours?" "My mother, yes. She's in Boston still. Calls me every Sunday to make sure I'm eating vegetables and not working too hard." A small smile crossed his face. "My father passed when I was 23. Car accident. So I do understand, actually. The weight of carrying someone's dreams forward." Linda's rehearsed hostility wavered. This wasn't the dismissive billionaire from the construction site. This was someone who knew what grief felt like. Someone whose eyes held the kind of sadness that came from understanding loss. "Coffee," she offered. "Please." As she poured, the door burst open and the Tuesday reading group flooded in, 8 kids between ages 5 and 10, their energy filling the space like a joyful storm. Behind them, their mothers and one grandmother nodded greetings to Linda before settling into the designated parent chairs with their own books. "Miss Linda." A little girl with box braids and a gap-toothed smile launched herself at Linda's legs. "Mama said we're reading about astronauts today." "We are, Zara." But first, Linda gently extracted herself and gestured to Joel. "We have a visitor. Can you say hello to Mr. Jackson?" 8 pairs of eyes turned to Joel with the unfiltered curiosity of children. He looked momentarily uncertain, the first time Linda had seen him without his confident veneer. "Hi," he said. "Are you Miss Linda's boyfriend?" a boy named Marcus asked with the bluntness of a 7-year-old. Joel's eyes met Linda's. She felt heat crawl up her neck. "No, Marcus. Mr. Jackson is my new neighbor. He wanted to learn about our reading program." "You gonna read to us?" Zara asked Joel. "I hadn't planned. Mr. Jackson probably has other things," Linda started. "I'd love to," Joel said, surprising them both. "If that's okay with Miss Linda." 20 minutes later, Linda sat cross-legged on the floor watching a billionaire tech founder read May Among the Stars to a group of enraptured children. He did the voices. He paused to ask questions. He listened, actually listened, when Marcus went on a 5-minute tangent about how rockets work. And when Zara climbed into his lap halfway through like he was just another adult in her safe space, Joel didn't stiffen or pull away. He adjusted his position, kept reading, and met Linda's eyes over the little girl's head with an expression that made her forget to breathe. Trevor appeared at her elbow. "Girl," he whispered. "That man is looking at you like you're the only person in the room. He's reading to children. He's performing for you. Big difference." Trevor squeezed her shoulder. "I'm gonna go restock the cafe and leave you to this." After story time ended and the kids dispersed with their borrowed books, Joel helped Linda straighten the children's section. They worked in comfortable silence, replacing cushions, organizing picture books by color. "You're good with them," Linda said. "I don't have much practice. My ex-wife," he stopped, reconsidering. We didn't have children. She didn't want them. I did. It was one of many things we couldn't reconcile. I'm sorry. Don't be. The divorce was 5 years ago. I was 32, thought I had everything figured out. He shelved a book about dinosaurs. Turns out I had nothing figured out. The company was exploding, the marriage was imploding, and I was so focused on building something successful that I forgot to build something meaningful. Linda sat in one of the small chairs, studying him. Is that why you sold CloudSync? To find meaning? Partially. Joel settled into a chair across from her, knees nearly to his chest in the child-sized seat. He looked ridiculous and somehow endearing. Mostly I sold it because I built something that consumed my life, and when I looked around, I realized I didn't have a life anymore. Just board meetings and product launches and an empty house in Palo Alto. So you bought a mansion in Charleston. So I bought a historic property in Charleston that needs the kind of restoration work that requires being present, being hands-on, being somewhere long enough to actually see seasons change. He leaned forward. I know what it looked like, wealthy outsider swooping in, disrupting everything. But I'm not trying to disrupt. I'm trying to put down roots, I guess. For the first time since my dad died. The honesty in his voice dismantled Linda's remaining defenses. She understood roots. Understood the weight of carrying forward what someone else started. Understood what it felt like to build something meaningful from grief. The construction noise really does shake my house, she said. I know. I hired a structural engineer to assess your property. He'll be contacting you about any damage we've caused and repairs we'll cover. Linda's spine straightened. I don't need. It's not charity. It's liability. My construction, my responsibility. Joel's eyes held hers. Please let me do this. It's the right thing to do. She wanted to argue. Pride demanded it. But the leak in her bathroom, the cracked plaster in the hallway, the foundation issues she couldn't afford to address, they were real problems that his construction had likely worsened. Okay, she said finally. But I want everything documented. Official reports. No handshake agreements. Of course. He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. You don't trust easily. Should I? You're a billionaire who moved into a historic neighborhood and started renovating before introducing yourself to anyone. Fair point. Joel stood, extending his hand to help her up. This time, Linda took it. His palm was warm, calloused in surprising places, not the soft hands she'd expected. When she was standing, he didn't immediately let go. Can I ask you something? Joel said. Depends on the question. Why books? Why this? He gestured around the shop. You could do anything. Why something this difficult, this financially unstable? Linda pulled her hand back, needing the distance to think clearly. You know how you said you built something successful but not meaningful? Books are the opposite for me. This shop loses money most months. The margins are terrible, the overhead is brutal, and I'm competing with Amazon and chains and everyone's shrinking attention spans. She walked to the window overlooking King Street, watching tourists pass. But 3 times a week, kids like Zara and Marcus come here and discover that reading isn't just for school. It's magic. It's travel. It's seeing themselves in stories that tell them they matter. And their parents, her voice caught. Their parents can't always afford new books. Can't always access library programs because of work schedules or transportation. So we bring it to them. Here. Free. When she turned back, Joel was watching her with such intensity that she almost looked away. That's everything, he said quietly. That's successful and meaningful. That's bankruptcy waiting to happen. Not if you have the right support. Warning bells clanged in Linda's head. I'm not looking for an investor. I wasn't offering. I was thinking more about community partnerships. My foundation funds literacy programs across the country. What you're doing here, it's exactly the kind of grassroots work we support. Your foundation. Linda crossed her arms. Let me guess, you'd want control over the programming, branding rights, quarterly reports. I'd want you to keep doing exactly what you're doing, with funding that doesn't come with strings. Joel matched her defensive posture with calm openness. But I can see I'm pushing too hard too fast. I do that. My ex-wife used to say I approached everything like a business problem to solve. Is that what I am? A problem? No. He stepped closer. You're someone I'd like to know better. If you'll let me. The air between them shifted, charged with something Linda wasn't ready to name. In the cafe area, Trevor dropped something that clattered loudly, definitely on purpose. I should, Linda gestured vaguely toward the counter. Of course. I've taken up enough of your afternoon. Joel collected his bag. Thank you for letting me participate today. It meant more than you probably realize. He was at the door when Linda's mouth moved before her brain could stop it. We do coffee every Friday morning. Before the shop opens. Just Trevor and me and whatever my mama's been baking. You're welcome to join us. If you want. Joel turned, and the smile that spread across his face made Linda's stomach flip. This Friday? What time? 7. But it's really casual, just. I'll bring pastries from Callie's. I hear their almond croissants are legendary. You don't have to. I want to. He paused. Is it okay that I want to? Linda nodded, not trusting her voice. After he left, Trevor materialized instantly. Linda Marie Davis, you invited that man to coffee? To our sacred Friday morning ritual. I panicked. You like him? I don't. Linda sank into the nearest chair. I don't know what I'm doing. 3 weeks ago I hated him. Now I'm watching him read to children and tell me about his dead father and look at me like you hung the moon and he's just discovering astronomy? Trevor supplied. This is a bad idea. He's a billionaire. I'm drowning in debt. He lives in a mansion. I'm 3 months from losing my house. We're from completely different worlds. So were your parents, Trevor said gently. Your daddy was an insurance salesman from the hood. Your mama was a teacher from a middle-class family. They made it work for 35 years. That was different. How? Linda didn't have an answer. That night, she lay in her childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling while construction sounds had finally, blessedly, gone silent next door. Her phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark, but she kept glancing at it anyway. At 10:47, it lit up. Joel Jackson, thank you for today. I haven't felt that present in years. Linda stared at the message, heart hammering. Typed and deleted 3 responses. Finally settled on. Linda, the kids loved you. Zara asked if you're coming back next Tuesday. The reply came immediately. Joel Jackson, am I invited? Linda, yes. Joel Jackson, then I'll be there. 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Appeared again. Joel Jackson, can I be honest about something? Linda, I'd prefer honesty to whatever billionaires usually do. Joel Jackson, fair. Honesty, I haven't stopped thinking about you since you yelled at me in your pajamas. You're fierce and brilliant and you care about things that matter. I'm not very good at this, at being genuine instead of strategic. But I want to try. With you. If you're willing to be patient with me. Linda read it 5 times. Her hands were shaking. Linda, I'm not looking for anything complicated. My life is messy enough. Joel Jackson, I'm not asking for complicated. Maybe just coffee on Friday? And story time on Tuesdays? And whatever comes naturally after that? Linda, no business proposals. No foundation funding. No solving my problems with money. Joel Jackson, I promise. Just 2 neighbors getting to know each other. Linda, okay. Joel Jackson, okay? Linda, okay. Joel Jackson, see you Friday, Linda Davis. She fell asleep with her phone still in her hand, Joel's last message glowing in the dark, and for the first time in 3 years, the weight of everything she was carrying felt a little lighter. Friday morning arrived wrapped in fog that made Charleston look like something from a dream. Linda woke at 5:30, told herself she wasn't nervous, and changed outfits twice before her mother knocked on her door. Baby, you're making the floorboards creak. Just wear the green dress. It's just coffee, Ma. Simone's knowing smile was insufferable. That why you've been checking the time every 5 minutes since you woke up? At 6:55, Linda was setting out mugs when Trevor arrived through the back entrance, took one look at her face, and grinned. Oh, you got it bad. Shut up. Look at you, all glowy and nervous. When's the last time you got nervous about a man? 2019, and we both know how that ended. Trevor's expression sobered. David was an insecure child who couldn't handle your success. This is different. How do you know? Because this one looks at you like you're the success. Before Linda could respond, the front door opened, she'd unlocked it early, and Joel walked in carrying a bakery box and 2 bouquets of flowers. The croissants are still warm, he said, then held out the bouquets. These are for you, Linda. And these, he offered the second bouquet to Trevor, are for you, since Linda mentioned you make this coffee ritual possible. Trevor clutched the flowers, beautiful mixed wildflowers, not generic roses, and mouthed, "Marry him," behind Joel's back. They settled at the table Linda had set up by the window. The fog pressed against the glass, making the shop feel like its own world. Trevor poured coffee while Linda arranged Simone's cinnamon rolls alongside Joel's croissants. Your mother made these? Joel asked, trying a cinnamon roll. Every Thursday night. It's her therapy. Linda watched him close his eyes in appreciation, something warm unfurling in her chest. These are incredible. My mom stress bakes too. Whenever I call with bad news, I can hear her preheating the oven in the background. What kind of bad news does a billionaire have? Trevor asked, then winced. Sorry, that came out more judgy than intended. No, it's fair. Joel wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. People assume money solves everything. It solves financial problems. But it doesn't solve loneliness. Doesn't heal grief. Doesn't make you better at relationships or guarantee happiness. Sometimes it just means you fail expensively instead of cheaply. Is that what happened with your marriage? Linda asked, then immediately regretted the intrusion. I'm sorry, that's too personal. It's okay. Joel met her eyes. My ex-wife, Victoria, married the successful entrepreneur. The driven, ambitious, always working version of me. And I married someone I thought wanted the same life I did. Turns out we both married ideas of people instead of actual people. By the time we realized it, we'd spent 5 years growing in opposite directions. That's heartbreaking, Linda said softly. It was. But it was also necessary. We wanted fundamentally different things. She needed the spotlight, the social scene, the perception of success. I needed. He trailed off, looking around the bookshop. This. Meaning. Community. Something real. Trevor stood abruptly. I just remembered I have to reorganize the entire stockroom. Immediately. Very urgent. Trevor, Linda started. No, very urgent book emergency. You two enjoy your coffee. He disappeared into the back, taking his flowers and his subtlety with him. Linda laughed despite herself. He's not subtle. He cares about you. I like that. Joel shifted his chair slightly closer. Can I ask you something now? Turnabout is fair play. The property tax notice I accidentally saw on your desk Tuesday. Linda's defenses slammed into place. You went through my papers? No. God, no. It was sitting on top of the stack, and I have an unfortunate habit of reading anything with numbers on it. Hazard of running a company for 15 years. He held up his hands. I'm not trying to pry. I'm just, if you're dealing with financial stress because of the neighborhood reappraisal, you're not alone. A lot of longtime residents are being priced out by gentrification. By people like you moving in and driving up property values? Joel flinched but didn't look away. Yes. By people like me. I'm part of the problem, even if I don't mean to be. That's something I'm trying to figure out how to address. His honesty deflated her anger. Linda traced the rim of her coffee mug, deciding how much to reveal. I'm 3 months behind on the new assessment. The house my great-grandmother bought for $8,000 is now valued at $500,000. Which means tax bills I can't pay on a bookshop that barely breaks even. What happens if you can't pay? Tax lien. Eventually foreclosure. I lose the house, probably have to close the shop, and watch everything my family built for 3 generations disappear because the neighborhood got trendy. The bitterness in her voice surprised her. Joel was quiet for a long moment. There are programs. I've applied for all of them. Make slightly too much to qualify for assistance, not nearly enough to actually pay the bills. I'm in the perfect middle ground of screwed. Let me. No. Linda cut him off. Whatever you're about to offer, no. I'm not your charity case or your project or your way of easing guilt about gentrification. What if you're just someone Joel stopped himself. What if I just want to help because I care what happens to you? The sincerity in his voice made Linda's throat tight. You barely know me. I know you built something beautiful from grief. I know you show up for your community even when it's financially devastating. I know you yelled at a stranger in your pajamas because you love your neighborhood enough to fight for it. He leaned forward. I know that when you talk about your father, your whole face changes. And I know that I haven't felt this present, this genuinely interested in someone, in years. Maybe ever. Linda's heart was doing acrobatics. Joel, I'm not trying to solve your problems with money. I'm just asking you to let me be someone in your corner. As a friend. He trailed off. As whatever you're comfortable with. I don't know what I'm comfortable with yet. That's okay. We have time to figure it out. They sat in silence, fog pressing against the windows, the bookshop wrapped in its own quiet bubble. Linda studied Joel's face, the gray at his temples that made him look distinguished, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. He wasn't just handsome. He was kind. And kindness, Linda had learned, was far more dangerous than attraction. Tell me something true, she said suddenly. Something you don't usually tell people. Joel considered. I'm scared most of the time. People see the success and think I have it all figured out, but I'm terrified I'll wake up at 60 and realize I built another impressive-looking life with nothing real in it. That I'll die like my father did, suddenly, without warning, and leave nothing behind that actually mattered. That's why you're here, Linda said, understanding clicking into place. Charleston. The historic restoration. You're building something permanent. I'm trying to. I don't know if I'm any good at permanent. He reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. Can I try? With you? Linda looked at his hand, so close to hers. Thought about her property taxes and his billions. Her struggling bookshop and his tech empire. The vast distance between their worlds. Then she thought about him reading to Zara. About his dead father and stress-baking mother. About the loneliness in his eyes that mirrored her own. She closed the distance, covering his hand with hers. We can try, she said. Slowly. Joel's smile was like sunrise breaking through fog. Slowly works for me. Trevor's voice floated from the stockroom. Thank God, I was running out of books to reorganize. They both laughed, and it felt like possibility, and for the first time since her father died, Linda let herself imagine a future that included someone else in it. By mid-May 2024, Joel Jackson had become a fixture at the Turn page. He came to story time every Tuesday, coffee every Friday, and increasingly, any excuse he could find to see Linda smile. But neither of them knew that Joel's business partner, Brad Sutton, was moving forward with the commercial development plan for the very block where Linda's bookshop sat. A plan Joel didn't know existed. A plan that, when revealed, would test everything they were building. What happens when the man you're falling for holds the power to destroy everything you love, even if he doesn't know it yet? If you're just joining us for the first time, you're welcome to this wonderful big family. We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure to watch till the end, and if today's story moves you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video with your family and loved ones. By late July 2024, Linda had stopped pretending she wasn't falling in love with Joel Jackson. It happened in small moments. The way he learned all the kids' names at story time and remembered their favorite books. How he showed up at the shop on a sweltering afternoon with iced coffee, not because she asked, but because he'd noticed she always forgot to hydrate when stressed. The night they sat on her porch until 2 a.m. talking about their fathers, and he held her while she cried for the first time since the funeral. The 4th of July when he kissed her under fireworks at Waterfront Park, and whispered, "I love you," against her mouth like a prayer he'd been holding back for weeks. She'd said it back. Meant it. Felt it settle into her bones like coming home. Now, on a Tuesday evening in late July, Linda locked up the shop and found Joel waiting outside with takeout from slightly north of Broad and a picnic blanket. Surprise dinner? He held up the bag. Unless you have other plans. My plans were leftover pasta and property tax panic. You're definitely an upgrade. She let him kiss her cheek, breathing in his cologne, something cedar and expensive that she'd grown addicted to. They walked to White Point Garden, past tourists and locals enjoying the evening cool. Joel spread the blanket under an oak tree dripping with Spanish moss, and they unpacked shrimp and grits, she crab soup, fried green tomatoes. "This is too much food," Linda said. "I didn't know what you'd want, so I got everything." Joel handed her a fork, their fingers brushing. Even after months, the touch still sent electricity through her skin. They ate as the sun set over the harbor, painting everything gold and pink. Linda leaned against Joel's shoulder, full in content and terrified of how much she needed this. Needed him. "I have something to tell you," Joel said quietly. Linda straightened, reading tension in his voice. "Okay? I spoke with my foundation director yesterday. We want to fund your literacy program. $50,000 a year for the next 5 years, no strings attached. You maintain complete control over curriculum, staffing, everything." Linda's breath caught. $50,000. For 5 years. It would cover the program costs, allow her to expand, maybe even pay herself a real salary. "Joel, before you argue," he continued quickly, "this isn't about us. It's about the work you're doing. My foundation has a grant committee that reviews applications blindly. They don't know you're..." He paused. "They don't know we're involved. Your program was selected on merit." "You're sure? Because if this is..." "It's not pity. It's not me trying to solve your problems." Joel took her hands. "It's a legitimate grant for a program that's changing kids' lives. You earned this, Linda. Let yourself have it." She wanted to believe him. Wanted to accept without the voice in her head questioning everything. But that voice, shaped by every time someone assumed she needed help, every microaggression, every well-meaning white person who thought they knew what she needed better than she did, that voice was loud. "I need to think about it," she said. Something flickered across Joel's face. Disappointment, maybe. But he nodded. "Of course. Take whatever time you need." They finished dinner in silence that felt heavier than before. As they packed up, Linda's phone buzzed. Her accountant. "Margaret Chen, Linda, we need to talk about the tax situation. Call me tomorrow. It's urgent." Her stomach dropped. Joel noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just work stuff." She forced a smile. "I should get home. Early morning tomorrow." Joel drove her back to King Street, and the quiet in his car felt wrong. When he walked her to her door, his kiss was gentle but searching, like he was trying to read what she wouldn't say. "I love you," he said against her forehead. "Whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it alone." "I know." Linda pulled back, meeting his eyes. "I love you too. I need to figure some things out on my own first." After he left, she sat on her porch and called her accountant. Margaret Chen didn't sugarcoat it. "You have until September 1st to pay the outstanding balance plus penalties. That's $43,000. If you can't pay, the county files for tax lien, and you have 6 months before foreclosure proceedings begin." "So I have until March," Linda said numbly. "March 2025. Technically yes. But Linda, if you can't come up with $43,000 in the next month, how will you manage in 6 months when interest keeps accumulating? Linda didn't have an answer. That night, she lay awake doing math that never worked. The grant money couldn't be used for personal expenses, that would be fraud. The shop was barely breaking even. She had maybe $8,000 in savings. She could sell her car, but she needed it. Could take out a loan, but her credit was maxed from starting the business. Could ask Joel for help. The thought made her nauseous. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she did. Because she loved him, and love made everything more complicated. If she took his money and they didn't work out, what then? If she took his money and they did work out, would she ever know if she'd truly built something on her own? Her phone lit up. Joel, can't sleep. Thinking about you. Linda, same. Joel, talk to me. What's really going on? Linda stared at the screen. Typed and deleted a dozen responses. Finally settled on truth. Linda, I'm scared that if I let you help me, I'll lose myself in the process. Joel, what if letting people help is part of finding yourself? Not losing? Linda, easy to say when you've never had to depend on anyone. Joel, I depended on my ex-wife's family money to start CloudSync. Took me years to admit that, even to myself. I understand the pride thing, Linda. But sometimes accepting help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. She wanted to believe him. Fell asleep wanting to believe him. Wednesday morning, Linda was opening the shop when Trevor arrived with a newspaper and a grim expression. You need to see this. The Charleston Business Journal headline made her blood run cold. Sutton Development moves forward with King Street revitalization project. Linda scanned the article, heart-pounding. Brad Sutton, Joel's business partner, the man she'd met twice at dinner, had acquired development rights to a 3-block radius on King Street. The plan included demolishing obsolete commercial properties to build luxury condos with ground-floor retail. The property list was in the sidebar. The turn page was third on it. No. Linda's hands shook. No, this can't, Joel would have told me. Would he? Trevor's voice was gentle but firm. Linda, he's business partners with this guy. How does he not know? He doesn't, he's focused on his restoration project. He's not involved in Brad's other ventures. Then why does the article mention Jackson Properties as a consulting firm? Linda found the paragraph. There it was. Jackson Properties, Joel's company, listed as architectural consultants on the project. The door chimed. Joel walked in with coffee and his usual Tuesday morning smile. It died when he saw her face. What happened? Linda held up the newspaper. Watched his expression shift from confusion to recognition to horror. Linda, I didn't. You didn't know? Your company is listed as consultants, Joel. Your business partner is trying to demolish my shop, and you didn't know. Brad handles his own projects. I focus on historic restoration, he does commercial development. We're partners in name but operate independently. Conveniently independently. Linda's voice shook. Tell me the truth. Did you know about this before we met? What? No. Absolutely not. Did you know when we started dating? Linda. Answer the question. I knew Brad was looking at King Street Properties. I didn't know your building was included. I swear to God, I didn't make the connection until right now. Joel reached for her, but she stepped back. How do you not make that connection? How do you not think, hey, maybe I should mention to my girlfriend that my business partner is planning to bulldoze her livelihood? Because I'm an idiot who compartmentalizes too much. Because I kept business and personal separate like I always do, and I didn't. Joel ran his hands through his hair. You're right. I should have been paying attention. I should have asked Brad specifically about King Street when you first told me about your property tax issues. I didn't, and that's on me. Trevor quietly disappeared into the back office. Is this why you offered the grant? Linda asked, voice breaking. Guilt money before the demolition notice? No. Jesus, Linda, no. The grant is legitimate. This project, I had nothing to do with it. But you could stop it. Joel went very still. What? You're his partner. You have influence. You could make him drop my property from the development plan. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Linda's voice rose. Unless making money matters more than. Don't. Joel's voice turned hard. Don't make this about money versus morals. I will talk to Brad. Today. But I can't just snap my fingers and undo months of planning and contracts. Why not? You're a billionaire. Isn't that what money is supposed to do? Give you power? Not over other people's businesses. Not without consequences. They stared at each other across the space that suddenly felt like a chasm. I need you to leave, Linda said quietly. Linda. Please. I need to think, and I can't do that with you here. Joel's face crumpled. I love you. That's real. Whatever else is complicated, that's real. I know. Tears spilled down Linda's cheeks. But right now, that's not enough. He left without another word. Linda sank into the nearest chair, newspaper crumpling in her fists. Trevor emerged slowly. You okay? My boyfriend's business partner is trying to destroy my shop. My property taxes are 3 months overdue. I have until September to come up with money I don't have or lose everything. She laughed bitterly. So no, Trevor. I'm really not okay. Her phone buzzed. Joel, I'm meeting with Brad at noon. I will fix this. I promise. Linda didn't respond. At 2:37 p.m., Joel called. She let it go to voicemail. Joel's voicemail, Linda, please pick up. I talked to Brad. The situation is, it's more complicated than I thought. He's under contract with investors. But I'm working on alternatives. Please call me back. I love you. At 4:15, he texted. Joel, I can buy out your property. Market rate plus 30%. You could relocate, start fresh somewhere without the tax burden. Linda stared at the message, fury building. Linda, you want me to leave? To abandon my father's dream, my family's home, so your business partner can build condos? Joel, that's not what I meant. I'm trying to find solutions. Linda, the solution is making him drop my property from the plan. That's it. That's the only acceptable solution. Joel, he can't. The investors would sue. He'd lose millions. Linda, and I'm supposed to lose everything so he doesn't lose money? So you don't lose a business partner? Joel, that's not fair. Linda, none of this is fair. But I thought you were different. I thought you actually cared about preservation and community and all the things you said mattered. The Charleston Post and Courier hit doorsteps on Friday morning, August 2, 2024, with a headline that made Linda's coffee turn to acid in her stomach. Tech billionaire's romance raises questions about King Street development conflict. She stood in her kitchen at 6:15 a.m., still in her nightshirt, staring at the newspaper Simone had brought in from the porch. The article featured 2 photos, Joel leaving the turn page with coffee, and Linda laughing at something he'd said. The photographer had caught them through the window, intimate, unguarded. Private moments made public. Sources close to Sutton Development allege that Joel Jackson's sudden opposition to his business partner's King Street revitalization project stems from his romantic relationship with Linda Davis, 34, owner of the Turn Page Bookshop, one of the properties slated for acquisition. Jackson, 37, who dissolved his partnership with Brad Sutton last week, stands to lose an estimated $47 million from the separation. Questions arise whether Jackson's involvement constitutes appropriate preservation advocacy or personal conflict of interest. The article continued for 800 words, dissecting their relationship, questioning Linda's motives, implying she'd seduced a billionaire to save her failing business. It quoted anonymous sources saying the bookshop was underwater financially, mentioned her property tax delinquency, suggested that Joel's foundation grant was payment for services rendered. Linda read it 3 times, each pass making her feel more exposed, more diminished. Her phone exploded with notifications. Text messages, voicemails, emails. The local news wanted a statement. A blogger requested an interview. 3 different lawyers offered their services. And Joel, calling repeatedly. She finally answered on the 7th attempt. Linda, I'm so sorry. Brad leaked this. I know he did. My lawyer is already drafting. Did you see what they're saying about me? Her voice came out hollow. That I'm using you. That the grant was payment. That I'm a gold digger who. No one who knows you would believe that. No one knows me, Joel. That's the point. Linda's voice broke. You're famous. You're Joel Jackson, billionaire philanthropist. I'm just the broke bookshop owner who happened to live next door. People are going to believe exactly what this article suggests. Then we'll prove them wrong. We'll. There is no we in this, Joel. Don't you see? This makes everything worse. Now when I speak at the city council hearing, everyone will think I'm just your girlfriend trying to protect my interests. My voice doesn't matter anymore because it's wrapped up in our relationship. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, what are you saying? Linda closed her eyes, tears spilling over. I'm saying I need to fight this battle alone. Without you. Without the appearance that I need a billionaire boyfriend to save me. Linda. I love you. God, I love you so much it hurts. But I can't do this right now. I can't fight for my business and defend our relationship and manage public scrutiny all at once. I'm drowning, Joel. Then let me help you. You can't. The words ripped out of her. Don't you understand? You are the problem. Your money, your power, your presence, it undermines everything I'm trying to prove. That I built something meaningful. That I deserve to stay. That I'm not just another black business owner who needs white saviors to survive. The words hung between them, ugly and true. Is that what you think I am? Joel's voice was barely a whisper. A white savior? I think you're a good man who doesn't understand that sometimes your help does more harm than good. I think you love me, but you love me from a position of power I'll never have. Linda wiped her face. And I think I need space to figure out how to stand on my own before I can stand with you. How much space? I don't know. Until after the hearing. Maybe longer. Linda, please. I have to go. She hung up before he could respond. Before she could change her mind. Before the part of her that wanted to run into his arms could overrule the part that knew she needed to do this alone. Simone found her crying at the kitchen table 10 minutes later. Baby. Her mother pulled her close. I read the article. They made me sound like a prostitute, Ma. Like I slept with him for money. Anyone with eyes can see that man loves you and you love him. The rest is just noise. Noise that's going to follow me into that hearing. Noise that makes everything I say suspect. Linda pulled back. I told him I need space. I think I just broke both our hearts. Did you mean it? About needing space? Linda nodded miserably. I can't fight for my business while defending our relationship. I don't have the energy for both. And if I show up to that council meeting with him by my side, I'm just proving their point, that I need him, that I can't stand alone. So you're going to stand alone? I have to. Simone was quiet for a long moment. Your daddy used to say that pride and strength aren't the same thing. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let people see you need help. This is different. Is it? Or are you so scared of looking weak that you're pushing away the one person who wants to fight alongside you? The question lodged in Linda's chest like a splinter. The turned page became a fortress over the next week. Linda threw herself into preparing for the city council hearing with single-minded focus. She compiled testimonials from literacy program families. Gathered historical documentation proving her building's significance. Researched eminent domain law until her eyes burned. Trevor helped, and her mother, and neighbors who'd known her family for generations. Joel stayed away like she'd asked. But evidence of him appeared everywhere. Her property taxes, paid in full, anonymously, though she knew exactly who'd done it. The structural engineer's report on her house, delivered with repairs already completed, no invoice attached. A legal brief filed by Joel's lawyer arguing against eminent domain, listing Linda as primary author though she'd only contributed research. He was helping without being present. Loving her from a distance because she'd asked him to. It made her feel cherished and furious in equal measure. On August 10th, exactly a year to the day after Joel first said, I love you, Linda found a package on the bookshop doorstep. Inside, a first edition of Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, her father's favorite book, the one she'd mentioned to Joel months ago. The inscription read, All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. Your father knew this. You know this. Whatever you decide about us, I'll respect it. But know that you changed me, Linda Davis. For the better. Forever. J. Linda sat on the floor of her shop and sobbed. Trevor found her there, clutching the book. Oh, honey. I miss him so much. It's only been a week and I feel like I'm missing a limb. So call him. I can't. Not until after the hearing. Not until I prove I can do this myself. Why do you have to prove that? Trevor sat beside her. Who are you proving it to? Everyone. Myself. Him. The world. Linda wiped her face. Every black woman I know carries this weight. Prove you're good enough, prove you're strong enough, prove you don't need anyone because the second you admit you do, they'll use it against you. But he's not they, Linda. He's Joel. The man who dissolved a $47 million partnership for you. The man who's respecting your space even though it's killing him. The man who loves you enough to let you go if that's what you need. What if I don't know what I need? Then maybe start with what you want. What did she want? Linda closed her eyes, let herself feel it. She wanted her shop to survive. Wanted her community to thrive. Wanted to prove that preservation mattered more than profit. And she wanted Joel. Wanted his arms around her at 2 a.m. when the fear got too big. Wanted his terrible jokes and his reading voices for the kids. Wanted the future they'd started imagining before everything got complicated. I want to not have to choose, she whispered. Between my independence and loving him. Between my pride and my heart. So don't choose. Find a third way. What third way? Trevor squeezed her shoulder. That's what you've got 10 days to figure out. Brad Sutton's lawyer was a shark in a $1,000 suit. The city council hearing on August 20th, 2024 took place in a chamber packed with reporters, developers, preservationists, and concerned citizens. Linda sat in the front row, flanked by Trevor and her mother, wearing her father's watch and her best armor, a blue dress that made her feel powerful, hair in a crown of braids that took Simone 3 hours to complete. Joel sat in the back row. She felt his presence like a magnetic pull but didn't turn around. Brad's lawyer presented first. Glossy renderings of luxury condos. Economic impact projections. Job creation statistics. Tax revenue increases. He painted a picture of progress, of Charleston's future, of public good. Then he presented the turned pages financials, obtained through public tax records, showing losses every quarter. called it a struggling vanity project that served a limited demographic. Linda's hands clenched in her lap. Simone grabbed one, squeezed hard. Ms. Davis operates from a place of passion, which we admire, Brad's lawyer said smoothly. But passion doesn't create jobs or increase tax revenue. The Sutton Development Project serves the greater public interest, as defined by economic growth and urban revitalization. It took everything Linda had not to stand up and scream. When her turn came, she approached the podium on shaking legs. Looked out at the council members, 5 white men, 2 white women, 1 black woman who met her eyes with something that might have been encouragement. My name is Linda Davis. I'm 34 years old, born and raised in Charleston. My great-grandmother, Ruth Davis, bought the house I live in for $8,000 in 1952, when black families weren't allowed to own property in most neighborhoods. She cleaned houses for white families during the day and took in sewing at night to make those mortgage payments. Linda's voice steadied as she found her rhythm. My grandmother, Alice Davis, raised 4 children in that house while working as a nurse at MUSC. My father, Robert Davis, was the first in our family to go to college. He became an insurance agent, served this community for 35 years, and dreamed of creating a space where everyone, regardless of race or income, could access books and literacy programs. She pulled out her documentation. The Turn page serves 48 children in our free literacy program. 73% come from households below the poverty line. 85% are children of color. Last year, our program kids showed reading improvement averaging 2 grade levels. That's not a limited demographic. That's the future of the city. One of the council members, an older white man, leaned forward. Ms. Davis, we appreciate your passion. But the reality is your business operates at a loss. How is that sustainable or in the public interest? Not everything worth preserving is profitable, Linda said. This council designated Rainbow Row as historic because colorful houses matter to Charleston's identity. You protected the Aiken Red House because slavery history matters. You preserved the Dock Street Theater because culture matters. I'm asking you to recognize that community literacy, black-owned businesses, and generational wealth in black families also matter. But Ms. Davis, I'm not finished. Linda's voice rang clear. You want to talk about public interest? Sutton Development's condos will rent for $3,500 a month minimum. That's not affordable housing. That's not serving the public. That's serving investors. Meanwhile, my shop serves this community every single day, for free, because some things are more valuable than profit. She looked directly at Brad Sutton, sitting beside his lawyer. Mr. Sutton's presentation was impressive. Beautiful renderings. Big numbers. But numbers don't tell you that Marcus, age 7, couldn't read when he started our program. Now he's reading chapter books. Numbers don't tell you that Zara's mother works 2 jobs and our after-school program gives her daughter a safe space to learn and grow. Numbers don't tell you that this neighborhood is being gentrified so rapidly that black families who've lived here for generations are being pushed out. She held up the photograph she'd brought, her great-grandmother standing in front of their house in 1952, dignified and determined. This is Ruth Davis. She survived Jim Crow. She built something from nothing. And now, 72 years later, her legacy is threatened not by segregation but by revitalization. Different words, same result, black families losing what we built. The room was silent. I'm asking this council to deny eminent domain. To recognize that preservation isn't just about old buildings, it's about old families, old dreams, old promises that we keep faith with. Charleston was built on the backs of enslaved people who never got to own property. My family finally got that chance. Please don't take it away in the name of progress. Linda returned to her seat, legs trembling, heart pounding. The council deliberated for 45 minutes that felt like hours. Linda stared at her hands, at her father's watch showing 4:47 p.m., at her mother's face tight with worry. Finally, the council chair spoke. We've reached a decision. In the matter of eminent domain for 487 King Street, currently housing the Turn Page Bookshop. Linda held her breath. The motion is denied. The property will remain with its current owner, Ms. Linda Davis. Furthermore, we're designating this property and 3 adjacent buildings as a historic preservation district, protecting them from future commercial development claims. The room erupted. Linda couldn't hear anything over the roaring in her ears. Simone was crying. Trevor was screaming. Reporters were shouting questions. And Joel, she finally turned to look. Joel stood in the back with tears streaming down his face, hands pressed together like prayer, mouthing words she couldn't hear but understood anyway. I'm so proud of you. Outside the council chambers, Linda was swarmed by reporters. She answered questions mechanically, still in shock. Trevor ran interference, finally extracting her to the parking lot where Simone waited. You did it, baby, her mother whispered. Your daddy would be so proud. Linda nodded, unable to speak past the emotion clogging her throat. Across the parking lot, she saw Joel standing by his car, clearly wanting to approach but holding back. Their eyes met. The distance between them felt like miles and inches simultaneously. Go, Simone said softly. Go to him. Ma, Baby, you just proved you can stand on your own. You fought your battle and you won. Now go get your man before pride costs you something that actually matters. Linda crossed the parking lot. Joel met her halfway. They stood 3 feet apart, a chasm of hurt and love between them. You were magnificent, Joel said, voice rough. Everything you said, Linda, you changed minds in there. I watched them. You actually changed how they see preservation and community value. I couldn't have done it without your lawyer. Without the research you funded. Without. Yes, you could have. Maybe it would have been harder, but you would have found a way. Because you're Linda Davis, and you don't give up on what matters. He stepped closer. I'm sorry I didn't understand that sooner. Sorry I tried to solve instead of support. Sorry my presence became part of the problem. You're not a problem, Joel. You never were. Linda's voice cracked. I was scared. Scared that needing you meant I wasn't strong enough. Scared that loving you meant losing myself. And now? Now I know that strength isn't refusing help. It's knowing when to ask for it. Knowing the difference between dependence and partnership. She closed the distance between them. I don't need you to save me, Joel. But I want you beside me. As my partner. As my equal. As the man I love so much it terrifies me. Joel cupped her face in his hands. I don't want to save you. I want to build with you. A life. A future. Whatever comes next. Even though I'm stubborn and defensive and push you away when I'm scared? Especially then. Because you're also brilliant and fierce and you fight for what matters. And I want to be someone who matters to you. You do, Linda whispered. God, Joel, you matter so much. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home after a war, exhausted and scarred but victorious. Linda melted into him, feeling pieces of herself that had been held too tight finally relax. I'm still going to mess this up sometimes, he murmured against her mouth. Still going to try to solve instead of listen. Still going to have privilege I don't always see. And I'm still going to be defensive about my independence. Still going to struggle with accepting help. Still going to push you away when I'm overwhelmed. So we'll be a disaster together instead of apart? Linda laughed through tears. Yeah. Let's be a disaster together. Trevor's voice carried across the parking lot, finally. I was about to come drag you two together myself. They broke apart, laughing. Simone stood with Trevor, both grinning like conspirators. Mama, you're supposed to be on my side, Linda called. I am, baby. That's why I told you to go get him. Simone walked over, pulled Joel into a hug that clearly surprised him. You take care of my daughter, you hear me? She's tough, but she's got a soft heart. I know, ma'am. I'll do my best. And Joel? Simone's voice turned serious. Thank you for seeing her. Really seeing her. Not what you could do for her, but who she is. Joel's eyes shone. That's easy. She's extraordinary. That night, they sat on Linda's porch with sweet tea and the blessed silence of no construction, no crisis, no distance between them. Brad's pulling out of Charleston completely, Joel said. Selling his development rights. The new buyer wants to preserve the historic character, work with existing businesses instead of against them. Did you have anything to do with that? I may have suggested that Charleston's preservation community would make his life hell if he didn't. Joel's smile was wicked. And I may have bought a significant portion of his investor contracts and redirected them toward sustainable development. Joel, before you argue, this isn't about us. This is about me putting my money where my values are. I told you I wanted to be part of the solution to gentrification. This is how I do that. Linda leaned into his shoulder. My hero. I'm not. You are. Not because you have money. Because you use it for good. Because you listen and learn and change. She tilted her face up to his. Because you let me fight my own battles but stayed close enough to catch me if I fell. Did you fall? Once or twice. But I got back up. She paused. With help. And I'm learning that's okay. They sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies emerge in the dusk. Across the hedge, Joel's mansion stood dark. He'd been sleeping at a hotel for the past 2 weeks, giving her space. Come home with me, Linda said suddenly. Joel looked at her. Yeah. I'm done with space. Done with distance. I want you close. Are you sure? Because I don't want to push. Linda kissed him quiet. I'm sure. About you. About us. About building something together. Later, wrapped in her sheets with Joel's heartbeat steady under her ear, Linda felt pieces of her world clicking into place. The shop was saved. The hearing was won. The man she loved was here, solid and real. But something still nagged at her. Joel, she whispered into the dark. Why did you really move to Charleston? The real reason. He was quiet for so long she thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, my father died at 53. Heart attack, like yours. I was 23, about to launch CloudSync, thought I had time to show him what I could build. To make him proud. Joel's arms tightened around her. I'm 37 now. Same age he was when I was born. And I realized I'd spent 14 years building a company he never saw, making money he never knew about, becoming successful for an audience that didn't include the person I most wanted to impress. I was living a life optimized for metrics instead of meaning. So you sold the company. So I sold the company. Moved somewhere I'd never been, to a city known for honoring its past. Thought maybe if I could restore something old, I could figure out how to build something that actually mattered. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. Then I met you. And I understood, you can't restore meaning. You have to create it. With people you love. In communities you serve. Through choices you make every single day. Linda's throat tightened. Your dad would be proud. Of who you are now. Not the billionaire part, the human part. You think? I know. Because my dad would be proud of me for fighting for his dream. And for letting myself love someone who makes that dream bigger instead of smaller. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in weeks, neither of them had nightmares. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, always did. But tonight, they had each other. And sometimes, that was enough to build everything else on. Linda won her battle. Joel proved his love. But the real test was coming, building a life together across difference, privilege, and the weight of public scrutiny. Could a black woman fighting for generational wealth and a white billionaire running from his own success create something neither could build alone? The answer would determine not just their future, but the future of everything they'd fought to preserve. If you're just joining us for the first time, you're welcome to this wonderful big family. We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure to watch till the end, and if today's story moves you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video with your family and loved ones. October 12, 2024 dawned crisp and golden, the kind of Charleston autumn morning that made tourists fall in love with the city and locals remember why they stayed. Linda woke wrapped in Joel's arms in his bedroom for the first time, sunlight streaming through windows that overlooked the marsh where egrets picked their way through morning low tide. They'd spent the past 6 weeks rebuilding. Not just their relationship, but themselves. Learning how to be together without losing their individual selves. Learning that love didn't require sacrifice, it required growth. Joel stirred beside her, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. Good morning, beautiful. Good morning. Linda turned to face him, tracing the line of his jaw. I still can't believe I'm here. In your massive billionaire mansion. Our massive billionaire mansion, if you want it to be. She swatted him playfully. Easy there. I've been staying over for 2 weeks. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But the possibility hung between them, sweet and terrifying. They hadn't talked about logistics, whose house, what that meant, how to navigate living together when their worlds were still so different. But they would. Eventually. For now, this was enough. Joel's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He groaned. It's 7 a.m. on a Saturday. Who? He checked the screen, and his expression shifted. It's my mother. She never calls this early unless. Answer it, Linda said, sitting up. She watched Joel's face cycle through confusion, surprise, and something that looked like joy as he spoke to his mother. When he hung up, he was grinning. She's coming to Charleston. Next weekend. She wants to meet you. Linda's stomach dropped. She what? I've been telling her about you for months. She says any woman who can make me dissolve a $47 million partnership and actually smile about it is someone she needs to meet immediately. Joel, I don't know how to meet billionaire mothers. What do I wear? What do I say? Does she know I'm black? Yes, Linda. I mentioned that detail. Joel pulled her close. She doesn't care about any of that. She cares that I'm happy. And she wants to meet the woman who makes me happy. What if she hates me? Impossible. You're brilliant, funny, kind, and you make her son want to be a better person. She's going to love you. He kissed her forehead. But if you're not ready, I can ask her to wait. No. Linda took a deep breath. No, I want to meet her. I want to be part of your whole life, not just the Charleston parts. You already are. You have been since the moment you yelled at me in your pajamas. They spent the morning at the farmer's market on Marion Square, holding hands while browsing local produce and artisan goods. People recognized them now, the bookshop owner and the billionaire, Charleston's unlikely romance. Some smiled. Some whispered. Linda was learning to ignore both reactions. What mattered was this, Joel comparing heirloom tomatoes like it was a serious business decision. The way he insisted on carrying all her bags. How he stopped to pet every dog and knew half the vendors by name now. He was putting down roots. Real ones. Linda Davis. They turned to find Zara running toward them, her mother Keisha walking behind with a tired but genuine smile. Mr. Joel. Zara launched herself at Joel, who caught her easily. Mama said you might be here. Did you bring Miss Linda? I did. We're grocery shopping together. Like married people? Zara asked with 7-year-old bluntness. Joel's eyes met Linda's over Zara's head. Like people who care about each other a lot. My mama says you're gonna marry Miss Linda and have babies and they'll come to story time. Zara. Keisha looked mortified. I'm so sorry. She's been on this topic all week. Linda laughed. It's okay. Kids say what everyone's thinking anyway. Well, for what it's worth, Keisha said quietly, everyone at the literacy program is rooting for you too. What you did at that council hearing, Linda, you saved more than just your shop. You saved a whole community's access to learning. We're grateful. After they left, Joel pulled Linda aside between vendor stalls. For the record, I think about it. About what? Marriage. Babies. Story time with kids who have your eyes and my terrible sense of direction. He tucked a stray braid behind her ear. I know it's too soon to say out loud. But I think about it. About a future with you that's bigger than just us. Linda's heart hammered. I think about it too. And it terrifies me. Why? Because I want it so badly. Because I'm 34 and I always thought I'd have kids by now, but the shop consumed everything. Because loving you feels like standing at the edge of something enormous, and I don't know if I'm brave enough to jump. You're the bravest person I know. I yelled at you in pajamas. That's not brave, that's unhinged. Joel laughed, pulling her close despite the crowd. Then be unhinged with me. For the rest of our lives. It wasn't a proposal. Not quite. But it felt like a promise. Kathleen Jackson arrived the following Saturday on a crisp October morning, stepping off a private plane at Charleston Executive Airport with the elegant confidence of a woman who'd raised a billionaire and wasn't impressed by much anymore. At 64, Joel's mother was striking, silver hair in a sleek bob, designer clothes worn with the ease of old money, gray-blue eyes exactly like her son's. She hugged Joel for a long time, then turned to Linda with a smile that felt like being evaluated and welcomed simultaneously. Linda Davis. I've heard so much about you. Mrs. Jackson. It's lovely to meet you. Linda extended her hand, but Kathleen pulled her into a hug instead. Call me Kathleen, please. And thank you for making my son remember he's human and not just a corporation. Joel had planned an entire weekend itinerary, historic house tours, fine dining, carefully curated Charleston experiences. Kathleen vetoed all of it. I want to see Linda's world. The bookshop, the neighborhood, the places that matter to her. That's where I'll learn who you really are together. So they took her to the turn page on a Tuesday afternoon when the literacy program was in full swing. Kathleen sat quietly in the corner, watching Joel read to kids while Linda helped with homework. Watching how they moved around each other, comfortable, synchronized, a team. Afterward, over coffee at the cafe counter, Kathleen said, he's different with you. Lighter. My son spent so many years carrying the weight of his father's death, trying to prove something to a ghost. But with you, he's just Joel. The boy who used to read to his little cousins and dreamed of building treehouses. He's still building, Linda said softly. Just different structures now. Good structures. Meaningful ones. Kathleen covered Linda's hand with her own. Can I tell you something? Mother to potential daughter? Linda's breath caught at potential daughter, but she nodded. When Joel was married to Victoria, I was terrified. She wanted him for his success, for what he could provide. She never saw him, the real him, with all his fears and dreams and wounds. Their divorce broke his heart, but it freed him. Kathleen's eyes shone. You see him, Linda. And more importantly, he sees you. Not as someone to save or someone who needs him, but as someone who complements him. That's rare. That's precious. I love him, Linda said simply. Even when it's complicated. Even when our differences feel like chasms. I love who he is and who he's becoming. Then that's all that matters. The rest, race, money, public opinion, that's just noise. Love is the signal. Hold on to that. That evening, Linda brought both Joel and Kathleen home for Simone's Saturday dinner. Her mother had been cooking since dawn, shrimp and grits, collard greens, cornbread, peach cobbler. The house smelled like home and history. Simone and Kathleen bonded immediately over embarrassing stories about their children. Trevor joined them, bringing wine and commentary. Neighbors stopped by, Miss Althea from 3 doors down, the Johnsons who'd lived across the street for 40 years, young families from the literacy program. Joel watched it all with wonder on his face. This is what I've been missing. This community, this connection. Where I grew up, everyone was polite but distant. This, he gestured around Linda's crowded living room. This is real. This is family, Simone said firmly. And you're part of it now, whether you like it or not. Both of you. She pointed at Kathleen. That means you too. I expect you for Christmas. Kathleen's eyes filled. I'd like that very much. Later, after everyone left and Kathleen retired to Joel's guest room, Linda and Joel sat on her porch swing in the October darkness. Your mother is wonderful, Linda said. She loves you. I could tell. Joel pulled her close. My whole life loves you. Everything feels better with you in it. Even the complicated parts? Especially those. Because you don't let me hide from the hard conversations. You make me better. Linda tilted her face up to his. I have something to tell you. Okay. I talked to my accountant yesterday. With the property taxes paid and the historic designation bringing in more foot traffic, the shop is profitable for the first time. Not by much, but we're in the black. Joel's face lit up. Linda, that's incredible. It gets better. I got a call from Charleston County Schools. They want to partner with the Turn Page to expand the literacy program district-wide. It comes with funding. Real funding, enough to hire 2 full-time teachers and open satellite programs in 3 other neighborhoods. That's everything you wanted. It's everything my father wanted. And I get to build it. She grabbed his hands. I did this, Joel. With help, yes, your foundation grant gave me breathing room, your lawyer saved the building. But I built something sustainable. Something that matters. You did. And I'm so damn proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. But I also couldn't have done it if you tried to do it for me. You gave me space to succeed on my own terms while being there when I needed you. That's what partnership looks like. Joel kissed her, slow and deep. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. I have something to tell you too. Should I be worried? I hope not. He took a breath. I've been working with local developers and the Preservation Society on a new project. We're creating a fund to help longtime residents pay increased property taxes due to gentrification. It'll cover the gap between old assessments and new ones for families who've lived in historic neighborhoods for at least 20 years. Linda stared at him. Joel, that could help hundreds of families. That's the idea. I can't undo gentrification. But I can try to make sure people like your family aren't displaced by it. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I needed to make sure it was viable first. You're using your money to fight the problem you were part of creating. I'm trying to. I'll never fully understand what it's like to face the barriers you face. But I can listen, learn, and use my privilege for good. That's what you've taught me. Linda felt tears spill over. I love you. God, I love you so much. I love you too. And Linda, Joel slid off the porch swing, kneeling on the weathered floorboards her great-grandmother had walked across 70 years ago. Linda's heart stopped. Joel, what are you? I'm getting ahead of myself. I know we said we'd take things slow, and I don't have a ring yet, and this probably isn't romantic enough. Joel, but I can't wait anymore. I've spent too much of my life waiting to live, waiting to be brave, waiting to find something that mattered. You matter, Linda. This matters. Us, together, building a life that honors both our pasts while creating a future neither of us could build alone. That matters more than anything I've ever done. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Not a ring box, a different shape. This was my grandmother's. My father gave it to my mother when they got engaged, just a placeholder until he could afford a real ring. She wore it for 2 years and said it was the most precious thing she ever owned because it represented a promise, not a price tag. Joel opened the box. Inside was a simple gold band with a small, imperfect pearl. I can buy you any ring you want. Diamonds, platinum, whatever you dream of. But I wanted to ask you with this. Because this represents family, history, promises kept across generations. Everything you've taught me to value. Linda couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Could only stare at this man kneeling on her porch with his grandmother's ring and his whole heart in his eyes. Linda Marie Davis, will you marry me? Will you let me be part of your family story? Will you build a future with me where we fight for what matters, love fiercely, and create something meaningful together? Yes. The word came out as a sob. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. Joel slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for her, and pulled her down into his arms. They kissed on her porch while the October wind rustled through the palmettos, while her mother watched from the window with happy tears, while across the hedge Joel's mansion stood lit up like a beacon. This was it. This was everything. Inside, Kathleen and Simone were already opening champagne. 6 months later, April 2025. The wedding took place in White Point Garden on a perfect April Saturday, under the same oak tree where Joel had first told Linda he loved her. Small and intimate, just family, close friends, and the literacy program kids who'd insisted on being flower girls and ring bearers. Linda wore her mother's wedding dress, altered to fit, with her grandmother's pearls. Joel wore a suit his father had been buried in, tailored and updated, because Linda understood that carrying the dead forward with you wasn't morbid, it was love. Trevor officiated, managing to make everyone laugh and cry within the same 5 minutes. Zara took her flower girl duties extremely seriously, throwing petals with mathematical precision. Marcus dropped the rings twice but recovered them with aplomb. When Joel and Linda faced each other under the Spanish moss, the world narrowed to just them. I, Joel Marcus Jackson, Joel began, then paused. Wait, your middle name is Marie. I should have made mine match. Joel Marie Jackson has a nice ring to it. Laughter rippled through their guests. Linda grinned. Don't you dare change your vows. Okay. I, Joel Marcus Jackson, promise to love you fiercely and respect your independence. To fight beside you, not for you. To listen when you talk about the hard stuff, even when my instinct is to solve. To honor your family's legacy and build our own. To read to our future children with terrible voices and good intentions. His voice cracked. To see you, always. Not around you or through you, but you, brilliant, fierce, complicated, beautiful you. For all the days we get, and in whatever comes after. Linda wiped her eyes, smudging her carefully applied makeup. I, Linda Marie Davis, promise to love you with my whole heart while keeping my whole self. To let you help me without losing me. To call you on your privilege and celebrate your growth. To build something with you that's bigger than either of us alone. She squeezed his hands. To remind you that you're more than your success or your money, you're kind and patient and you do the world's best dinosaur impression for 7-year-olds. To honor your father's memory and make your mother proud. To be your partner in every sense of the word, for as long as we both shall live. By the power vested in me by the internet and the state of South Carolina, Trevor declared, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Joel, kiss your bride before she changes her mind. Joel pulled Linda close. Never changing my mind, he whispered against her mouth. Good. Me neither. The kiss was long enough to make the kids giggle and short enough to stay appropriate. When they broke apart, their guests erupted in applause. Linda looked out at everyone who'd gathered, her mother crying happy tears, Kathleen beaming beside her, Trevor dramatically fanning himself, the literacy program families cheering, neighbors who'd known her since birth, new friends who'd become family. This was success. Not money or power or recognition. This, community, love, belonging, purpose. Ready? Joel whispered. For what? Everything. The rest of our lives. Whatever comes next. Linda squeezed his hand. With you? Absolutely. They walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, past the bookshop that had brought them together, toward a future they'd build brick by brick, page by page, day by day. 1 year later. The Turned Pages 5th anniversary celebration fell on a Saturday in June 2025, exactly 1 year after Joel and Linda's wedding. The shop had expanded into the building next door, purchased by Joel's preservation fund and leased to Linda for $1 a year. The new space housed the growing literacy program, a community meeting room, and a small publishing imprint for local authors. Linda stood behind the counter, 7 months pregnant with their first child, watching Joel read to a crowd of kids who'd grown comfortable enough to climb on him like a jungle gym. And the dragon said, Joel paused for dramatic effect. I'm actually vegetarian. Want to share this pizza? The kids erupted in giggles. Zara, now 8.5, rolled her eyes with the sophistication of someone too old for picture books but still charmed by Mr. Joel's voices. Simone appeared at Linda's elbow with lemonade. Drink, baby. You need to stay hydrated in this heat. Yes, Ma. Linda sipped obediently, one hand on her belly where their daughter kicked enthusiastically. They decided to name her Ruth Alice, after both great-grandmothers, both strong women who'd built legacies worth honoring. Kathleen had cried when they told her. She'd moved to Charleston 6 months ago, buying a historic house 2 streets over. Said she'd spent enough time in Boston and wanted to be near her grandbaby. She came to story time every Tuesday, had joined Simone's book club, and the two of them conspired constantly about spoiling Ruth Alice. Trevor bounded over, carrying a stack of books. We just sold out of the new local author anthology. Already. I'm ordering more. That's incredible. Linda felt pride bloom in her chest. The anthology featured 12 Charleston writers, all people of color, all telling stories that centered their experiences. The publishing imprint had been Joel's idea, but Linda had built it into something real. Also, you have a visitor. Trevor nodded toward the door. Brad Sutton stood just inside, looking uncomfortable but determined. Linda hadn't seen him since the city council hearing almost a year ago. Joel noticed him immediately, standing from the reading circle. Brad. Joel. Linda. Brad approached, hands in pockets. I hope I'm not intruding. I wanted to, I owe you both an apology. A real one, not just the statement my lawyer released. Linda exchanged a look with Joel. He squeezed her hand. Your call. I'm listening, she said. I was wrong. About the development, about fighting you, about leaking that story to the press. I let profit blind me to what actually matters. Brad looked around the shop. This place, what you've built here, this is more valuable than anything I would have created. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. Why now? Linda asked. Because my daughter started reading. She's 5, and suddenly books are everything. Her teacher recommended your literacy program, and my wife brought her here last month. Ella fell in love with this place. Talks about Miss Linda and Mr. Joel and story time like it's magic. Brad's voice roughened. Made me realize what I almost destroyed. So I'm sorry. Truly. Linda studied him, the sincerity in his expression, the regret. She thought about grudges and grace, about what her father would do. Your daughter is welcome here anytime, she said finally. And so are you, if you want to volunteer with the program. We can always use more readers. Brad's eyes widened. You'd let me, after everything? Everyone deserves a second chance. But Brad? If you ever try to develop this block again, I will personally ensure your life becomes very difficult. Joel laughed. She's not kidding. She has city council members on speed dial now. Understood. Brad extended his hand. Thank you. Both of you. After he left, Joel wrapped his arms around Linda from behind, hands settling on her belly. You're incredible, you know that? I'm practical. Holding grudges takes energy I'd rather spend elsewhere. No, you're extraordinary. You just won't admit it. He pressed a kiss to her temple. How are you feeling? Ready to sit down? I'm pregnant, not fragile. I know. Doesn't mean I can't worry. Linda turned in his arms. You know what I'm really feeling? Happy. Grateful. Like everything, the struggle, the fear, the almost losing everything, it was all leading here. To a bookshop full of kids and a husband who makes terrible dragon voices? To a life that matters. To building something with you that's bigger than both of us. To Ruth Alice, she placed his hand where their daughter was kicking. Who's going to grow up knowing that preservation isn't just about buildings. It's about people, stories, communities, love. Joel's eyes shone. She's lucky to have you as a mom. She's lucky to have us. Both of us. Linda kissed him softly. I love you, Joel Jackson. I love you, Linda Jackson. Still getting used to that name. You have the rest of our lives to adjust. Story time ended, and kids dispersed with their parents. Simone started closing up the cafe while Kathleen helped Trevor shelve returns. Their family, chosen and blood, blended and beloved. As the sun set over Charleston, painting the historic district in gold, Linda stood with Joel in the bookshop her father had dreamed of, carrying the daughter they'd created, surrounded by the community they'd built together. She'd saved the shop. But more importantly, she'd saved herself, learned that strength wasn't refusing help but knowing when to accept it, that independence wasn't isolation, that love could be partnership instead of surrender. Ready to go home? Joel asked. Linda looked around one more time, at the shelves her father had envisioned, at the children's corner where magic happened every Tuesday and Thursday, at the community board covered in drawings and dreams. Yeah, she said, taking his hand. Let's go home. They walked out together, past the historic preservation plaque that now marked the building, past the flowers neighbors had planted, past the heritage oak that had witnessed their whole story. And as they crossed the hedge between what had been his property and hers, now just theirs, boundaries dissolved, Linda thought about her great-grandmother Ruth, who'd bought a house when black women weren't supposed to own anything. About her father Robert, who dreamed of books and community and love. They'd built foundations. She was building on them. And Ruth Alice would build even higher. This was legacy. This was love. This was everything. And it was just the beginning. The end. If Linda and Joel's love story touched your heart, show some love by hitting that like button. It helps us bring you more beautiful romance stories like this one. What did you think? Could you forgive someone like Linda did? Or would you have held that grudge? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one and I love hearing your perspectives. And if you can't get enough of these epic love stories, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter of romance, redemption, and happily ever afters. Next up, we've got a story about a woman who inherited a vineyard and the mysterious stranger who showed up claiming he owned half. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for spending the last hour with Linda and Joel. Until next time, keep believing in love, the real, messy, beautiful kind. See you in the next story.